what do you think about open relationships?
Good start. I think it is a nice try. I mean, people are experimenting, and this name, open relationships, it's a term that describes an experiment that some generations are doing since the 1970s, I believe, right? Are doing in our society, and so it's today a 50-year experiment, right? So it's a child. So the question is, I think it is very important in a sense of trying to solve the incompletions of our sexual lives. Worse, it would be to stay in the situation that it was before, that people living very poor sexual lives, very poor relational lives, and away from a deep purpose of what it should be a relationship and a sexual encounter. And so I believe all those revolutionary movements that started in the 1970s, they have their place in really trying to achieve something better. And the so-called open relationships is a part of that, in my point of view. Because, I mean, the relationships were not open before that. No, it's a question for you.
Wow.
Maybe it was open just for the guy. I don't know.
Or maybe no. I think they were open. I guess there were many
before the church.
It's rather about not speaking about it than that it did not exist. No.
Yeah, that is probably. The ideal couple, always in love and whose desire was never aiming anyone else than your couple. It never existed, or only for a brief moment where this couple is in passion. But society organized itself in a patriarchal way, where the males could have other partners and no one could talk about anything. Of course, they would talk in some male circles and things like that. So the experience of open relationships is not really new. It's not something from the 1970s, I believe. What happened from there is that a small bunch of people, they started having a courage to face it, to open it, to really look at it and say, okay, so we need a new sexual life. How is it going to be? And experiment. But the question here, which I think is one of the most beautiful virtues of this movement, is called honesty. It's like it's honest, it's open, and it's for everyone. It's not from a patriarchal dominated society, right? And so it is a nice start, but the way is not only the start, the way is more difficult than it appears.
So, sorry. Do you think you can talk a little bit more about this, about how difficult it is and how the people are approaching this with you as a therapist?
As a therapist, I deal with people that are not really studying. So my experience as a therapist is the experience of people that from their hearts they chose to live open relationships without studying, let's say, without having a background of knowledge to organize them. And so what most of the therapeutic experiences, the opening of a relationship is also the end of the relationship. It's also a period of transition where you still love the person you are with, but you feel you need to move. Mm-hmm. And so this is the most common thing in the clinic. That is completely different from the teaching experience that you see in Taoists and Tantrics and other organized groups that are studying those kinds of change, revolutionary changes. Like in Brazil, we have the how can I translate it to English? Is polyamory, I believe is the term. Yeah. So you have groups studying polyamory and things like that. So the results in those groups are totally different.
What do you mean that they are studying it?
I mean, there's a conceptual, there's a theoretical material on this subject that was built from this 50 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it polyamory literature that are polyamory theorists and things like that. So usually people that are involved in some background of knowledge to give them the foundations of problems, of orientations, they usually do better in the sense better in the sense of the initial proposal, right? Okay, we are going to have relationships that are with more than one person, and it is not going to be okay, I am with one person now and then we open the relationship and that only the result of that is that I change this person to the next person.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah. Okay.
Because you really have to, if it should work, you really have to dig deep and to look at what is in this game. Mm-hmm. What are the real powers that are playing here, right?
Mm-hmm. So, but
the main point is that the powers that you are dealing with are usually much more powerful than you imagine when you first tried to open relationships. I mean, people are really not ready for these powers in the first place.
Mm-hmm. But like, does it happen that people are actually happy with the open relationship if they manage to like open it and not just change to the next partner?
I would say more in terms of numbers. I don't think this is a fair question, but because well, first of all, you have to compare if they are happy in opening but if they were more happy in closing.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, when they were closed, they were more devoid of life, of life force, of vitality, right? And when they open, they usually are more vital, but more chaotic, and I mean, it's not a simple process. You're going to be taken from your emotions. You can get many unstable emotional states for a long time during the process. So if you look at this process, you not say, oh, okay, this person is happy, okay.
Yeah.
So happiness is not a good parameter for choosing the process. But I would say mostly become more alive, and mostly become more, let's say, whole. They have more integrity in their lives, simply because they are following. They are following a desire. They are being led by sexual energy. This makes people more whole, more integral beings. But people can be happy also in open relationships, and I have some people that are really open couples or open singles, and have achieved this state of happiness. What I just mean is that it's not right away. It's a process and takes time, and especially it takes a lot of work, inner work.
I will come back to the questionnaire. So the next question is, do you believe that after first 6 months of love, the boredom begins?
Yeah, this is like this is usual knowledge on psychology, in a sense that people try to measure the time of the passion. That is the average time where you meet a person and then you say, oh, okay, this is the person of my life. Right? And when you are in this state of mind, you really believe that that is the person of your life. And usually this state doesn't last more than 6 months, but I mean, the curve is about 6 months to 1 year. If you reach 2 years, it's like higher the deviation on this average numbers. So it's not exactly that it's going to stop in 6 months, but it's a statistical measure. But the question is not numbers. Is that this is an unstable state, right? What we call passion, it's not stable, and it was not made to be stable. It's not its purpose to be stable. So the question are inside people's minds and hearts. I mean, why thing that's not made to be fixed?
Yeah.
Right? So, and then you have to go into this question that is, in the first time you are into this state where you believe that there's another person that is for your whole life, and then it passes 6 months and then you get into boredom and you start asking yourself what happened. Maybe you still believe that there is another person that should be this person with whom this state would last more. And in my case, after the 5th person, I started to see that something was wrong in my belief system, right? So really, there is no person. It's not a question of another person. There's no one out there that's going to make the state of passion, of enthusiasm of the first meetings eternal. There is no. This is something that is deeply rooted in the human mind and heart, that comes from the idea and what we call the myth of the twin souls. It is a Greek. And this myth was used by some religions in the human history to when you were really free from it, you can see that it was to put you in a prison. The prison of spending the rest of your life looking for someone that does not exist in order for you to be happy and to be in passion and to have enthusiasm. So how to go out of this prison is a major initiatic process.
Wow. Would you start a family with someone without being in love with this person?
No, but it's my way. I mean, if you are going to do it or not, it's totally your way. I mean, it's something that is teaching about relationships. It's a way for you to discover yourself through your sexual energy, through the impulse of your sexual energy. So myself, I have family. I mean, I was married for 20 years. I have a child, and today I'm single. But I've had all this experience. But it started in passion. Totally believing that was the person for the whole life. And I don't believe I would marry in another way, but I mean, that's me. There's no problem in the universe that someone choose to have a family that is not based on passion or love, and a family for maybe having children and raising children together. I mean, this idea of this couple that it's a prison couple that I call. It was built, and it's new. I mean, in human history. I mean, to look for someone that you are in passion with, that you love, that is pretty, that you have a very intense sexual meeting, that you have full of orgasms, that has a nice job, that you share your economies, that you grow together, and still that you have that you have a view on life that is totally that totally matches, and you like the same things. This person never will exist. Okay. The question is that society created, the culture created this image as a desire that everyone should have and should achieve. And the best way to make prison to people is
the others don't understand what's coming. Escape the
Wow. I think they are listening to us and they want to stop this conversation.
I don't know.
Caralho, que interferência aqui.
The reaction of the... Sorry.
Bem na hora que eu tava falando coisas importantes, hein? And so I was saying that a good way to make a prison, a good way to put people in prison is to create aims and desires that are not possible to fulfill. That you start like a rabbit running after the carrot in front of you, you never reach it. Okay, so this imaginary couple that was created in our culture, because if you go like to Europe in medieval Europe, I mean, the function of marriage was economical. It was to add powers from families. It hasn't anything to do with love. And imagine sex. So sex, it was like...
Wow. Okay.
So you should read there is a book called The History of Love, I believe. There's no translation to English. It was written in Portuguese. So it tells about this history of how the expectations of what a couple should be changes in the recent human history. So the final answer is I would not, but it's totally okay for a person to build family without having this passion couple for it.
What does it mean for you to be radical?
You mean in sexual and relational terms? Because this is a very broad.
Yeah.
This is a very broad question. I mean, we are talking just about sexuality and relationships
and love. Yeah.
And love. So, love is radical if it is true. If you go back to the ancient Greek myths on love, on Eros and Psyche, you see the description of Eros in this myth, and it's like Aphrodite, that is the goddess of love, tells him, go to those families, go to those cities, and throw your arrows, right? And then the myth describes so that god of love, it doesn't pay attention to any rule. It comes and destroys families with its arrows. It comes and makes you do actions that you would never do without it. So when the Greeks go describing the myth, what happens when you are taken by arrows, it is it's definitely revolutionary. I mean, you totally go out of the social order, right? And you totally go out of your own prefixed rules for living. So I mean, the experience of love cannot be ordered. It is revolutionary by itself. It at least will cause an inner revolution in your whole being. If it doesn't cause, it is not love. It's just attachment. You should consider that if you take Eros in the Greek myth, in Hesiod, I believe, it was one of the first beings that came out of the chaos. It was one of the main powers in our universe, in our cosmos, right? One firstborn God. It's like you're not dealing with some small issue. If it is really love, it's not small. It's not ordered. But people use this word love for everything, but the feeling of love. So I would say revolutionary is to teach people how to love.
Yeah. The next question is very.
You know, there's. I didn't finish this one.
Sorry.
There is my favorite Beatle, that is George Harrison. He has a piece of music that he says, and I don't know why nobody told you how to unfold your love. So the question of teaching how to love, it's a major issue in humanity. Totally revolutionary. So this is one point of being revolutionary in those terms, and it's the broader. And then you have other that that's the issue of possession. It starts with the patriarchal societies. If you take some so-called religious books, they will tell you that women, cattle, and land are the possessions of a man, and that another man could not desire those possessions of the other man, right? So the whole idea of the possession of a woman body, of a woman body or women body, it's so deeply implanted, and in the case of our culture, is not the body, because the possibility of the building of an identity was also possessed. So it's body and soul. And what I can tell you in a single phrase, a woman will never give the full, deep female sexual energy to a man if she's not free. And there is very few men in this world today that have experienced a woman really giving this deep female sexual energy to him. And also, there is no way of feeling sexual fulfilled without receiving it for a man. For a woman, it's another issue. So can you see, I just told you in other words, unless we have a revolution in the roots of the patriarchal ways, men will never be sexually fulfilled. So this is a second point of revolutionary thinking.
How do you understand the radicality of love? It's kind of close.
I think I have talked about it. No?
Yeah, I feel like. So then, do you think that radicality can be harmful?
Definitely is dangerous. But you should ask for whom.
I think, both. Like, if it's harmful for the person that is radical and for the people around this person.
Um, I mean, I answered you, it is dangerous, not as necessarily harmful. But danger implies that there is a risk of harm. Okay. And so this is just an advice that you can be harmed in the fires of love. And in the revolutionary fires of love. So that's why education is a major issue. If it is true, you are going to be deconstructed from inside. So there are parts of your ego that is going to suffer. And also it is harmful for people that are attached in, let's say, in ways of having relationship that are really not loving ways, or just possession, or attachment disguised of love. You want to find these people? The Tao Te Ching, that is the major book for the Taoism, gives you a hint. The ones that are always talking about one thing are the ones that are not living that thing they are talking about.
So true. Wow.
Do you agree that sacrifices are necessary in love as they are in revolution?
Sacrifices are necessary in love. Can you give me an example of a sacrifice?
That someone gives up, don't know, maybe you live in one place that you really love, and then you meet someone and you decide to move to another place to be with this person, even though like you will miss like your friends, your other things in where you were before.
I believe this is the nature of any choice. It's not something that is special for love. If you choose, you win something and you lose something. So if you are calling this something that is lost of a sacrifice, so yes. But that's the nature of choice. I don't believe this is more evident in love or not.
Have you ever used Tinder? If yes, what's your experience with it?
I will not answer if I have used or not. I will answer generally as I have experience in watching people using it as a therapist. And it's a weapon. And as a weapon, it can be used for making you more whole, more alive, more happy, or not. I believe that there are some aspects of a female sexual freedom were positively enhanced through this kind of devices. Also, the inability of people to create deep connections were made worse.
Mm. 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 Do you think that love has to be reinvented?
Love is a God. It's not up to you to reinvent it.
Mm.
But human culture, it's always to be reinvented. How people create relationships and how people live their sexual meetings, this is to be reinvented.
Mm.
In order to create the space for love to manifest.
Mm.
But it's not love that you are reinventing. It's human relationships.
Mm. And are you afraid to fall in love?
If I'm afraid, no.
Mm.
Not to that I was when I was a teenager.
Mm.
Of course, it's part of growth.
Mm. Yeah, that was the last question
Okay.
list. Yeah, wow. It was very, very interesting.
Muito bom.
Sim.
Legal.
Okay, so thank you for the interview. I hope you can use it wisely in your movie or documentary, in your art product. I believe also art is a major way of communicating and inciting change in our society. So do a good use of it.
That's what
Thank
what
you.
we are doing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Eduardo.
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Tchau. Vamos terminar em português, né? Em inglês é muito...
Oh, aproveita aí,
Tá
cara.
gravando isso, né? Valeu, gente. Obrigado. Okay, so first of all, I am a teacher and a therapist with background in Chinese medicine and Wilhelm Reich model of psychotherapy. And I have pursued a doctorate in health promotion, especially with health promotion in Chinese medicine, and later a research on how people use sexuality as a means for health promotion in Chinese medicine context, right? So this was a scholar research that was done from 2004 to 2010, all this research. It was through Rio de Janeiro State University and Boston University in United States. And so I have a school that is going to be now in 2021, a school of health promotion, and it's going to be online major in this year, though it has in its history began in 2004 also, with a place in Rio de Janeiro, basically, and São Paulo. And so that is to say that the sexuality is an issue, and love is an issue, and a relationship is an issue that was present in my biography. But I usually like to do this broad presentation because I don't consider myself a sexual and relationship teacher, as you can see in some in some environments like the tantric people or something like that, because really sexuality for me is very important. It was always a pillar of life, and I have experience in teaching, but I have a part of a history that is one day I was going into my my daughter's school to pick her, and then another father asked me what to do, and then I said, "Oh, I have a school of Chinese medicine, acupuncture, qigong, and sexuality." And then he answered, "Oh, so you were a sexual teacher?" And I said, "Okay." And then I said, "Oh, okay, but I said to you at least 5 other things." Right.
Yeah.
So this is this is my view on sexuality. Is that first in my presentation, it is a very important part of life. It was and is a very important part of my life, but we have this kind of obsession. We're going to make it the center of everything, and it is not exactly that for me. So being after saying that, I would say I have quite an experience and quite a radical experience in treating people and living myself. Especially through the ways of Taoist sexuality that I teach for more than 20 years. And my experience is solely based on what you can say an initiatic process. So it's not experimental in this sense. It comes from lineages of Taoist knowledge. So I finished my introduction here.
Okay, thank you.